We talked about dehiscent, dry dehiscent, dry indehiscent seed fruits, and we haven't really talked about the fleshy component of seed dispersal, and usually maybe one of the more fun ones to talk about. So plants can produce fruits or seed parts that are fleshy and attractive to animals. Gets us thinking about a lot of the same stuff that we talked about with pollination. And this is just another reminder that we need to keep track of those things as separate concepts. So pollination, seed dispersal. Pollination involves moving pollen from one flower to another flower for the purpose of fertilizing an ovule. And seed dispersal involves moving a seed to a suitable place where it can grow into a new plant. So seeds just have to get to the ground, basically, but pollen has to get to flowers. Now, that being said, the strategies are kind of similar. So if you want to attract an animal, you can be visually appealing. We've got some bright colors in here. There can be some scents. So an animal smelling its way to a food source. It's the same experience you have maybe in the grocery store. You're trying to smell for a ripe fruit. You can maybe picture the smell of a strawberry. This is a plant called durian, we talked about in Malvaceae, extremely stinky, which is a great way to attract animals in its native rainforest habitat in Southeast Asia, such as this orangutan. It's advertising the presence of food. Now, these animals, both the tortoise and the orangutan, they're not probably very concerned that they are able to disperse these seeds. But the plant is taking advantage of what they want. So they want to get the flesh on those, and they're animals, so they might be moving around. So whether they're moving the fruits around on their own, or maybe just ingesting some seeds and pooping them out later, that's a very effective dispersal strategy. So this first question is basically fleshy as a reward to an animal to collect you and move you around. And the second question is an important one for seeds. If you are a seed inside of an edible fruit, how do you keep yourself from being destroyed? So not a great strategy if you're just going to get picked up by an animal and all of your seeds are chewed to death. Not a good way to get dispersed because they're not going to make it. So just kind of think about that one. We'll see some strategies. I guess I'll point out a couple here. On the strawberry example, these are small seeds, relatively small seeds being eaten by an animal that doesn't do a lot of chewing. No chewing as far as I know. So those seeds inside of those, if you remember, these are achenes on the surface. Inside of those achenes are going to get passed straight into the gut and maybe sturdy enough to resist the stomach digestion and make it out the other side of this tortoise intact. Another case here with the durian, these are rather big seeds. They're not on their own tasty. A lot of times seeds are even bitter. So this orangutan might be moving this fruit around and eating the fleshy parts that are expendable from the plant's perspective and eating around the seeds that are too big and bitter for it to want to swallow them. So we have similar experiences too. If you think about fruits that you eat an apple and you leave behind the core. What's in the core of an apple? Seeds. You eat an avocado. You take the green flesh of an avocado and you leave the seeds around. You cut that thing right out and you leave it somewhere. So in a natural environment, the seeds are making it out pretty well by not being part of the appealing part that an animal wants to eat. So we'll look at some modifications for fleshy fruits. Here are cases of fleshy pericarp. So berries, right? Berries different from drupes. And I find it's something you kind of have to get under the surface for any of these to really appreciate the difference between a berry and a drupe. So we talk about the difference between berries and drupes, but you aren't necessarily identifying those as a difference right off the bat. So some berries, some drupes, just highlighting some differences in color, abundance, shape, size. But this is kind of a common signaling to animals. So fleshy fruits are popular among birds. Birds, again, another one of these animals that doesn't really chew. So if you make it into the belly of a bird as a seed, you might well make it out alive, intact, the other end. So berries, drupes, and then a little more modified version of these. In some cases, the seeds themselves are fleshy. So the fleshy modification to a seed grows out from some part of that seed, either like the seed coat, or in some cases, the stalk leading to the seed. So we got different terms for these. Aril is like a fleshy part based on the stalk of the seed, the part where it was attached to the mother plant. Sarcotesta is a term for the fleshy seed coat on these. And you can see difference in some of these. I'll start with maybe the most familiar one. If you've ever eaten pomegranates, this is the genus Punica. Pomegranate, inside of there is a seed, and this fleshy thing also kind of looks like a seed. But if you remember the pomegranate fruit, there's actually a fruit around all of these. So you can extract these fleshy seeds from the inside of a pomegranate. And so this fleshy bit is actually associated with this individual seed, not the fruit wall itself. Sometimes it's kind of a ring, as in this trillium here. Here's a little bit of the fat, fleshy stuff on the side here. This more clear color is the part this ant is interested in. And then it's got this durable, shiny seed that's going to be not so appealing to the ant and probably survive any attempts to chew on it. And sometimes a little more just kind of random fleshy. Here's a good illustration. In this bittersweet of the fruit has opened up. So it's a dehiscence into 3 parts. And then you got these big kind of gummy red seeds on the inside. So sometimes the seeds themselves have the attractant and reward for dispersing. And sometimes, again, we've got cases of accessory tissue. We saw a lot of that in the rose family. So strawberries, the fleshy part of a strawberry is accessory tissue. The fleshy part of an apple, this is related to an apple. The fleshy part of this is the fleshy hypanthium, with seeds more in the center. This is a case where these little dots in the fig are all individual fruits. They're all achenes. And then outside of them is this big fleshy bunch of stuff that's accessory. If you like cashews, cashews come as nuts. And so the part you eat would be inside of here. And they're also associated with these, what they call them, cashew apples. This is a swollen receptacle, basically. So attractive to an animal to visit and disperse this part. Pretty popular with primates in Southeast Asia, where these are native to. And they would be avoiding this. This is in, as we'll see, in the family of potent plants. This is the same family as poison ivy. And there's actually quite a bit of that poison ivy active chemical associated with the cashew fruit proper. So this is a big deterrent for anybody even handling this. Fairly toxic to animals. And then this part, interesting to animals. So they're going to avoid the seed, eat the fleshy part, but in the process of carrying the fleshy part, they're going to disperse the seed. All right, so we can look at this from a plant's perspective, as far as how does it avoid animals eating its seeds. So having durable seeds that can withstand digestive juices, and also size can be important. So seeds that are too small to chew will just sort of pass right through. Seeds that are too big to chew also would be avoided. So you might eat the flesh around your avocado seed. If you've eaten a mango, there's a giant seed in the middle of a mango. It's pretty easy to eat the flesh of a mango without risking yourself biting into the mango seed. Another version of this is to look at it from the animal perspective. So some animals are better at chewing than others. Rodents, for example, are big into chewing, and they're some of the bigger seed predators. They don't mind chewing into a seed, even so much as an acorn or a walnut. So not the best for seed viability here in your rodents, but birds, no teeth. So birds are going to swallow those and let their gut do the work on getting the nutrients out of those. And birds are pretty good at passing seeds through their gut pretty well unmolested. And just a variety of other items shown here.